So here we are, and here is our survey. We like to take a poll for each of our webinars just to kind of get an idea of what you all are here to see and watch. So how often do you go fishing? It is anonymous. I don't see who says what. It just shows how many people say something. So feel free, don't be shy. Like I really will not know who votes for what. You can also vote for how much you're going to start to fish. New to the area. All right, a few more votes, please, for the poll. It is anonymous, I promise. It just helps us with the presentation so we know how much basic information and how much advanced education you guys want from this. All right, so every so often we're getting that view. We'll stop sharing in a few seconds. There we go. So a few times a year, maybe monthly, and never. Awesome. So yeah, we're gonna go over everything, where you're gonna find the fish, about the Nevada Department of Wildlife, and our regular information. So, all right, close this. And we'll continue on to our guest panelist tonight. I did not get a great picture of Joe, but this is an amazing trip that he'll describe for you guys. So we have Joe Giuliano and Tony Santoro, both longtime anglers to Southern Nevada and Southwest area. Have an awesome group of guys, very exclusive fishing crew. Also Las Vegas Fishing Club page is a great one if you're new to the area to kind of get more fishing information. Sometimes the guys mess with you, so definitely fact check any information you get. So Joe, if you could introduce yourself a little bit more.
Hello, I'm Joe. Been fishing my whole life in the Vegas area because I was born and raised here. And of course, took a little bit of time off because of work over several years and got back into it about 4 years ago, picking up where I left off, but this time with more of Lake Mead involvement because before that I was more of a trout fisherman.
Awesome. And Tony, what's your backstory?
Vegas for 22 years from Ohio, and I didn't fish the first half of my time here. When I got back into it, I got into it a lot. We didn't have a button to click that said fishing 3 days a week. I didn't see that button to click on. But yeah, I love fishing. My dad got me into fishing. When my dad passed, I kind of took a break from fishing. But my son asked me when he was 4, Daddy, can we go fishing? And here we are fishing again. So.
Awesome. I also have Rob Morin guesting with us if we have any questions about our Sportsman's Warehouse or supplies or anything like that. He's also an avid fly fisherman. So Rob Morin will also be able to answer some questions for us along the way. So a little overview on what we're going to talk about. We'll go over fishing Nevada overall, like all the fishable waters, crappie basics, what you're looking for and what kind of fish these are. Compared to bluegill, they're going to be a little bit bigger, but they're still part of the sunfish family, so they do sometimes look quite similar to that or like a green sunfish, but the markings definitely give it away. How to catch crappie, and Joe brought a little demo for us, which is pretty exciting. And then how to be an ethical angler and more Q&A. So if you think of some questions later on, we might hold off on them in the box and then answer them at the So our new last couple of years, we were able to do our license simplification, and you can now get your fishing license online. So you can go to Endow Licensing literally last minute as long as you have cell service and screenshot your fishing license, and you will then be legal. Make sure you, if you're, since most of us are newer to fishing, go ahead and get that checklist from takemefishing.org or somewhere like that, or Shakespeare or Zebco have some great angler resources. That way you don't forget your bait at home. Worms sometimes work the best out and about, or your favorite lure. In Nevada, if you're 12 to 17, you do need a youth license. 18 and up is an adult license. And then we do have some awesome VIP, either senior or military licenses as well. And then know your waters. Our urban ponds are a 3 fish total limit. So that means only 1 trout if you catch a bass and a bluegill. And then check the water. We're about to hit monsoon season. I know I've seen some clouds in the forecast. Sometimes those clouds turn into monsoonal rains and winds. So if you're out on the water, make sure you know that the winds are coming, because those winds can capsize a boat on Lake Mead. It's a big, big area, big basin. And or if you go down to Willow Beach, which is one of our shared waters included in your license, the flash flooding there is pretty intense. So just be careful while you're out and about. Some more on the website. This will get revamped soon. We're actually in the process of backing up all the information. Very exciting. You guys actually know some secrets other people don't about that. So we'll have an even easier website, but pretty basic: hunting, fishing, boating. You click on fishing, and it takes you to fishing reports, a link to get your fishing license, and the annual fishing guide, which is the big one, not just the little one that we print out every single year, but we actually make a notebook, and I literally turn it into like a binder, and you can go, it's a page on each one of our fishable waters in the entire state. So if you're curious about a certain body of water or a certain fish, you click on where to fish. And since we're going to do crappie, my example here, you'll search for the species and click on crappie. A lot of clicking, but it's pretty quick once you get going. And then we're going to focus on Echo Canyon Reservoir, and just north of that is Eagle Valley Reservoir. So you can literally camp or do a day trip to one of those two and go to the next water. They're only like 20 minutes apart. So when you click on that, it'll take you to the fishable waters map. And this is actually an interactive Google map. And someone actually shared what they had created and made these awesome fish here. So it's literally, this is a fishable water, Mesquite. South Cove is still part of Nevada here. So all of this counts all the way down to Laughlin. But crappie wise, you'll have a little bit on Lake Mead, but most of the crappie is going to be up north in Kirch and Eagle Valley and Echo. So in our fishing guide that we print every year, and you can download it, Nicole just shared the link for you guys for the publication. So this is actually the link that you can download. Oh, that's the angling guide, thank you. And then just above it is the fishable fishing guide, the Cliff Notes, this example here. And in red, we put all the lakes, waters, reservoirs that have crappie. And here's the little code down here. And yes, these stripers are possible. I know Tony's one of the guys that actually catch some of these monsters, and I saw Carmelo Castro at the office today actually registering his watercraft, and he just got one of these monsters this weekend too with his kids. So a little bit more, and then we'll get into these guys talking. In the guide too, on page 20 and 21 this year, is a little description about all the popular fish here. All these fish are in Nevada, just here or there. Fun fact, we have crappie in the northeast part of Lake Mead, and there have been sightings of walleye. Some research that Fish and Wildlife Service has on every single species of fish, walleye and crappie do not, they fight for a habitat, like a certain area. So generally you'll either find crappie or walleye, but if they're found in the same area, one's usually going to beat the other one out. So just remember that. So one year it may be walleye more than crappie. So, and there's a little zoomed in on it. So that's what we're going to talk about. All right. So white versus black, and then I actually am sharing some of Tony's pictures on the next slide. Some trick questions on, is it a white or a black crappie? So you can see that they both have the little vertical lines. And so sometimes, depending on the habitat and the water clarity, a white crappie can look almost black and a black crappie can look almost white. You're going to look for little specifics like on the dorsal fin is going to be a little different. You're going to have fewer on the white versus the black, and you can see how they stick up a little bit more too. And then you can even see like the tail splits a little differently. And the black crappie is going to be more oblong. I think that's a better way to put it. And then longer than the white crappie. So just a basic things, nice little comparison. All right, and then the question of the night. So Tony, which one did you think they were?
I didn't understand the question. Oh, those fish that I caught. Echo,
Yeah.
they were white. First time I caught those there.
So the only reason I'm going more black crappie is because the spots on the tail are more prominent, and then the longer dorsal and the darker back. But yeah, especially in that lighting, you can barely tell, especially the second one. But I guess we'll talk more about it, but sometimes when you find pictures online too, it comes out a little different, and the phone, when you enter it into some of the apps, is going to tell you what they think you caught. And so don't always believe what you guys are reading online. It goes back to that. So sometimes it's not going to give you the right picture of what you're. Yeah. All right. So crappie are warm water, so they are going to take a little longer. So get you guys talking. When do you guys like to go out and look for crappie?
Joe?
Crappie?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I never told you this, but water temperature is extremely important when it comes to crappie. All right. Crappie are not a fish that many people go after other than good table fare. They're not hard fighters. They do have cottonmouths, which you lose a lot of them because your hook just falls out. But believe it or not, crappie are catchable in the wintertime and all the way through summer, but it's the water temperature and it's not the surface temperature you want. So if you're in the wintertime and the surface temperature is somewhere around 60 degrees down to 55, it's the presentation of the lure also. I mean, in the wintertime, you barely want to move that jig. I'm serious. You just want to drop that jig in, let it sit there, and every 1 minute to 2 minutes, give it a little twitch, because they're slow. Their blood's moving slow, whatever. But that's the winter way to fish them. They're still very hard to catch in winter. But I found that from 50 to 60 degree water, they start moving more shallow. And in my mind, the target temperature, surface temperature is 65 to 75. So I put it right in the middle of, put it right at 70, and then, you know, just fish the columns to where they're at, and try and definitely remember where that column was. When we were at Eagle recently, we showed up the first day in the afternoon, and as soon as you put a jig in the water, we were on them. The water had already warmed up. But the next day when we went, we started in the morning, and we couldn't get a crappie. The water had not reached its temperature to get their blood moving. So I switched over to the bass until Tony or Brendan caught a crappie. But as soon as the first crappie's caught, you throw that lure on, and they're on. I mean, I can't not begin to tell you how important the water temperature is. 70 is my goal.
Yeah, definitely. Crappie are a part of the sunfish family, and they are going to feed on crustaceans, small larvae, small fish. So again, knowing where their food source is or what's like it will definitely, and like Joe was saying, some flair, just enough to get their attention, and giving them time to definitely catch it when it's colder and not warm enough yet. They're not the biggest fish. There have been some up to 19 inches, but I'd say 12 inches is a pretty good one out here. And then looking for them near the vegetation, boulder, shrubs, and submerged shrubs. So definitely anywhere with warmer water. And the trip that they're talking about, they'll talk more about, but it's a mountain spring. And so it does take longer for the water to catch up here. So Nicole helped make this slide. And this is from a fish at, oh, sorry. The control box is covering that. And now there we go. So from Eagle Valley, you can see this one caught there. And then this is using fish brain. So this is what I was saying, don't always believe what it says, because some of the rainbow trout caught there come out with some other totally different name. But you can see this guy used a crappie tube. And again, we'll talk more about that too. But Eagle Valley and Echo are right next to each other. Eagle Valley is not supposed to have crappie, but unfortunately someone took it upon themselves to transport them from Echo to Eagle Valley. And so now they're there. The problem is like we were saying with walleye, they're going to compete with the bass, which we really like the bass in there. And they can get really big, but when they're competing for food sources, it's not always the best thing. So feel free to get your limit on crappie there. And then there's some lake meads hit or miss, like we were saying in the Overton Arm, and then Kirch as well has a bunch. And that goes back to knowing your waters. Tony and Joe, yeah, where do you guys look for them? What are you looking for above the water that makes you think that they're below the water?
I'm going to make the comparison that, like Joe was talking about, water temperature is important. It's different times of the year between Mead and Eagle Valley. The number for me at Lake Mead is like 68 degrees is spawning time, and that's where you go find the big ones. And I fish for crappie totally different than I do at Mead than I do at Eagle Valley. Eagle Valley's traditional bobber, tube jigs, small, minnow type things. When we're at Mead, the fish I find at Mead are much bigger when you find them. So they're eating bigger swim tails and other minnow imitations, because they seem to feed on minnows at Lake Mead.
More live bait.
Yes, I know a few guys that actually do fish live minnows. They take the minnows out there. I just use small imitations.
When they're spawning, do you keep them?
I've had days where I've caught a lot of fish. Like uh, I think one day I caught 25 to 30 crappie, and I take like 10 of them, but I release the rest because I know it'll keep the fishery, you know, it'll keep a good population of crappie. So I see big pregnant bellied ones and I put them right back.
Awesome. Anything to add on, Joe?
I've only been fortunate enough at Lake Mead one day, and I caught 3 crappie, and I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, trolling for striper. And what Tony said, I think a little differently. I think they're feeding on shad, and so I think he meant minnows, shad, but that's when Lake Mead, and I just happened to was trolling for striper, and they were in the area. I mean, they're so hard to find there. I don't even seek out after them. If I come across them, I come across them.
Oh. My mouse has a mind of its own. All right, so we're gonna jump right into it. Crappie tips and tricks. So this is all you guys. So what's,
Go ahead, Tony. You
yeah,
first.
you got going.
Those look good. Those look good. Eagle Valley. Eagle Valley, usually, like Jeff said, you wait for them to get for the bite to get on. My standard setup there is a fixed bobber with enough leader to the tube jig that I can cast. You know, like if it's longer than my rod, if I'm standing, but in my kayak usually it's the length of my rod. But I'll start as deep as I can with a fixed bobber with a crappie tube, and just let it sit there, switch it. And if I don't find them, I might change the depth of it a little bit. But a place like Eagle Valley, that's my main classic crappie tubes. That's what I go for. I've caught a couple on a bit of night crawler, on a drop shot, fishing towards the bottom if I'm picking them off the bottom. The setups you have there, never had a whole lot of luck with the slip floats, but I know they'll work. A slip bobber, because then you can adjust your depth. Try it at 3 feet, try it at 5, try it at 10. So it's a good way to find where they're suspending.
Yeah, flip ones, and then the fillable too. Like if you can fill it with water and adjust it that way as well.
Yeah, that's copy on the bubbles. Yeah.
Yeah.
You put a bubble and then you put a leader after it and try different flies or grubs or whatever you want to try. But yeah, it lets it sink slowly. You can swim things in front of them also with a bubble and a small lure.
Keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe, what's your favorite?
Well, just going back to what you said, what do I look for on the surface and everything about how to fish for crappie? It's knowing the time of year. It's no secret. Spring and fall is gold. If you can find a natural spring lake or something that's fed spring-wise, it's keeping the water cooler in the winter or in the summer, like Eagle is. It'll keep, that water temperature right where they like to bite. As for what I like to do, I don't mess with slip bobbers. I have not seen Tony do that other than with trout. We just use regular, lightweight, real small circle color bobber with 3 to 4 feet of leader with your classic crappie jig on it. And just throw it out there. And I let it, like right when it lands, I just let it sit and I go, twitch, twitch. Seriously, like picture that. Twitch, twitch. That's it. And usually I got a bite. But if not, then I just go, twitch, twitch. I mean, it's that easy. It's not hard. The funny thing is they're not the hard fish to catch. It's the hard fish to figure out what water temperature they're digging.
Yeah, so always back to knowing your water.
Yes.
Do you want to go ahead and demo? You can demo the knot and then
Oh, yeah.
your
So,
mechanism.
all right. So I got 2 jigs. All right. The one on the left is a standard tied, like you would tie a hook onto anything, just the typical wrap it around 7 times, feed it through and pull it tight. This one right here, you look at that, it looks ugly, right? It looks, oh man, who would bite that? Every crappie in the world would bite that. This is called a loop knot. All right. This is called a loop knot. And can you tell already what the issue is here? One's 90 degree and one's almost flat. So I got a glass of water and I'll show you what's up. The normal tied knot, like you would tie anything, if your knot gets, if you go to set a hook, can you see that? See how it's vertical? That's wrong. That's wrong. So you go to set your hook. Not many people look to see that their knot has slid up to the part of the circle that makes it stand vertical like this. But if you do a loop knot, this one, it's always a parallel dancer that is working the way it's supposed to work. That's the way any jig, it's not just a crappie jig, not just bluegill, anything you're jigging for small species, this is what it is. You go to set the hook, it still falls back to a parallel presentation. Sorry about the Guinness. As you get further into it, I mean, fishing's about confidence. Like the more you fish, it's like, oh, I would never do it. It's about confidence. And the first time ever fishing, you don't care. You just tie a knot, you throw it out there, and that's that. But the more you get into it, the more confident you are, believe it or not, the more results you'll have. So however you tie it, whatever gear you're using, blah, blah, blah. It's just something weird about fishing.
Testing and researching. Yeah, and I know some people on here, like, even if you've done crappie fishing, like he just had 2 different jigs. Some people say, oh, you have to get this jig. And sometimes people say you have to get this other one. It all depends. Your water, your fish. And honestly, I was just in a weekly conference. Since COVID, we've been doing weekly meetings nationally. And one of the comments that everybody had said was, there's no fishing gear like nationwide. So honestly, if you find something and you're not sure about getting it, you might want to just grab it because it's not always available right now. I mean, I know some of us are seeing the boats everywhere and the kayaks are flying off the shelf, literally. So just keep that in mind. If you're somewhere you think you might need it, and even if it's a swivel or some of these jigs, go ahead and grab it. If it's not for that fish, it's going to be for something else. And we'll keep doing these series where we talk to the guys that are out there testing all this. Make friends. Maybe that gear works better for them. But some of these marabou jigs are gone. Some of these jig heads are gone and hard to find. I know Tony and I were talking about it Monday when we were setting up fine tuning stuff, that swivels were hard to find.
I'm having a hard time finding basic lead.
Oh yeah, and the weights too. Yeah, like literally any of that's gone. Power bait just got into some of the stores, so it might
That's
not be
something I never need power bait, so that doesn't mean.
Trout are still biting up north, and the trout love power bait for some reason. I think they like
do.
The sparkles. They like the sparkles.
Feed in that bubble I told you about too, though.
Okay, so here's some better pictures. They were talking about Lake Mead eating something that looks like threadfin shad or minnows. Small fish is usually that term. This is a tube, and these legs actually break up, and like in the fish brain post, it creates a little tail, almost like this marabou jig. So presentation-wise, these are kind of similar. And then these all come in different colors. All this stuff comes in a bunch of different colors. And then you can put this tube on this jig head, right? Is that how you,
Correct.
one of your ways?
I usually small jig heads and put the head inside the tube, and poke the line tie through the rubber. That's the way I do it.
Oh yeah, all the way up.
Yeah, if you, I hate to say it, but if you sit on the jig head, it's right into the back of the tube, and then that little line tie will rip a hole through the tube, and it'll hold it in place. If I'm fishing for the bigger crappie with the more shad-looking bait, then you just hook it through like normal, like a normal swim or something, and leave the head showing on the front of the one in the picture that's white.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Any other favorite lures or crappie bites, Joe?
Yes. The only lure I ever fish.
He's serious about that too. That's all he fishes for.
Go watch Brendan's video and
Oh yeah, so back to
see
that.
where the first 5 fish came from. But now hold on, this color, like this red, like if I was everybody, I'd grab a Sharpie. For some reason, and this is the only thing I believe in with crappie. Red. They love red, and paint that head red with a Sharpie. And they'll bite anything, but that's my confident thing I was telling you about.
Well, I don't think it's just the crappie either. I think it's a lot of sunfish because you get that red and green, like the red and green plastics for bass. You get those little Griffith's gnat with the red tail for the bluegill, and they kill it too.
Yeah. Do you realize how easy that is to make if you needed to?
Actually, that's on my list. That's going to be on my...
all it is a jig head with the hook, and all you got to do is get some pipe cleaner, like just slide it on and put a little feather on it.
Little marabou. I don't think I have any in my emergency bag, but yeah, I'm going to do a tutorial on making those marabou jigs because I figure you can do them for the crappie, for trout, all kinds of stuff. Put them on a fly rod, put them on a spinning rod. Yeah, that's not in this kit.
No.
It's in my other kit.
Yeah.
All right. So Pontoplate. This is Tony's, one of Tony's fish as well. So disclaimer, anyone watching, we are going to look at, they're not actual fish pictures of them being cleaned, but we are going to show you a few cuts. I found an awesome demo. So if you're not a meat eater for any reason, you may not like the pictures that much. They're not bloody or anything like that. They're just clip arts, but just a warning, disclaimer. Crappie is, well, crappie and pike actually. Pike's now one of my favorite fish. And Tony and I got going for a good 10 minutes. So this might be a few minutes to talking all our favorite recipes. But just cutting it along the top, and then that's also going to, I'm pointing to my screen like you guys can see, but the first picture to the left is right next to the fin, and then that way you can pull those off and you slice right along the inside of the rib bones, and then right along the head on both sides behind the gill plate, and then go ahead and cut right under the skin to also get just the meat. And then that way you can just do a flash fry with your favorite Southern seasoning. But we're based on everything we've been talking about. So I was gonna add Tony's other picture in of just a nice simple, instead of the crappie nuggets down there, you just flash fry it, right? Your crappie fillets?
My fillets, I roll them in egg, and if I use my favorite cracker, it's just saltines crushed up, and egg sticks to it, and you drop it in the grease.
Just like making a meatloaf. Mush up the saltines in it. That's my favorite way of doing it too.
I found a great recipe that it was for bluegill, right? And I'll never have bluegill the same way again. I'm telling you, it's that good. but I use it for crappie also, and it's that good. And I don't remember the exact. All I know is Sin City Outdoors did it, and they made a sandwich out of it, and it wasn't deep fried or anything. It was pan fried, and it had what's that white stuff? You put tartar sauce, and that type. It almost tastes like an egg. What is it?
Fish fillet.
The fish fillet on steroids. It was so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what video it was, but I'm sure you can find it. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah, so back to some of our favorite YouTube videos. If you're with your family watching, me and my family, the kids and all, we watch Sin City Outdoors, Bren's Fishing Life, and he's been on our Striper podcast or Striper video. And then this is all recipes for the crappie recipes. So you can do crappie chowder or some, oh my goodness, like I'm drawing a blank. Oh, and Rob commented for us, French fry season. Oh, French fry seasoning on a flat top.
Was that the Cajun stuff, Rob?
That's what I'm gonna guess. So that's what my dad, when he makes most of our fish, we just do a flash fry and just do a shallow basin and fry it with Slap Your Mama or Tony's allspice. Any of those, honestly, your favorite krill seasoning with just a little flash fry, or like Tony was saying, with a little more breading seasoning.
I do like in a pan though with fried in butter with Zatarain's blackening too. I like blackened crappie.
That's right. Yeah. So blackened is just, a really good seasoning too.
That sounds
and
great.
Pie fry. And tartar sauce is easy to make too. So if you are big on tuna fish, honestly, that's pretty much the basis for a tartar sauce is your mayo, your relish, a little salt and pepper, and the secret ingredient, if the restaurant is out of it, if they have Worcestershire sauce, that's pretty much what they add to make that for you. Secrets from a previous server here.
What? Say it again. Which sauce was that?
To make a tartar sauce.
Oh, okay. Because I'll give you the Cane's recipe right here, right now. I mean, I know it inside and out.
That's on Pinterest too.
Yes,
my son had a friend over and we made cane sauce. So yes, that is also on Pinterest. And that would be amazing.
You know what's the secret about that is actually a crawfish dip that Cane's got that from. And it's the exact same way, but there's a whole bunch more black pepper, and that is it's a crawfish dip. That's where it came from.
Well, good leading to getting crawfish actually at Eagle Valley. As long as you are watching your trap, you could literally put a crawfish bucket hanging off the dock here, or off those, actually off of the boat docks right before this. And you can definitely get a good crawfish boil going at Eagle Valley. So I highly recommend that.
Yeah, bigger ones in the creek below.
In the creek, yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, just it's not a far walk at all. Just the creek below the dam. You'll get bigger ones.
Yeah, and there's the parking lot right before that, so you could park there. You'll see it on your way up to the reservoir. It's part of Spring Valley State Park. If you're plugging that into Google for directions. You can also save all these locations on your Google under Save Your Spots. So these two pictures, I wanted to show how amazing Southern Nevada is. It's not just the desert and the city that we live in, if we have any new visitors. And, oh, okay. We'll add on to that, Danny. So we'll save that question for just another moment. So Eagle Valley here, the kids are hanging out. Some are fishing, some are not. I wanted to show this picture too, as if you know the person, it's okay to be this close to them. If you don't know them, so maybe these kids could actually be like 2 more feet to the right and give the angler on the left a little bit more room, because if his fishing pole can touch them, we're not social distancing, and we're also not being a good angler. And then the picture on the right is Kirch Wildlife Management Area. There is so much water because it's a natural spring. It is definitely reedy along the edges. The easiest way to get out on a lot of the water is a kayak, float tube, small boat. It's all wake limits. And it does get weedy because it does get warm, but the fishing's good literally year round. And there's not a lot of people. It's only 3 hours from Vegas, not even that. 3 hours is with a restroom break. But just, I wanted to throw out, make sure you're fishing responsibly. I'm gonna get my Cliff Notes here. Fish responsibly, which means having your fishing license. And that just means like you've done some research in the area. You're obeying the fishing laws, you're knowing your limits and restrictions. That's also part of respecting the waters and keeping it clean. I know one of the worst things for me is when I take kids out fishing at the urban ponds and they think they have a bite and come to find out they just grabbed somebody's holiday garbage and they're reeling in a grocery bag or an ice bag. So if it's a windy day, make sure you have some rocks nearby to hold your garbage down, bring an extra bag out. And catching and releasing, like we were talking about earlier, Joe and Tony were saying, you know, depending on if they are spawning or if they're new release or little fry, let them go, let them grow, catch and release. I took my daughter out too the other day and the fish was it was right in the middle of if we were going to keep it or not. So I put it on the stringer, nice and safe, you know, went through the gill, so it was okay. And he went to take off and I was like, do you really want to keep it? And she said, no, it's okay. So we went ahead and left it there. We let the catfish go. And hopefully he'll get to hang out and get a lot bigger for somebody else. So it's okay to practice catch and release. And then that goes into selective harvesting. So only catching and keeping what you're going to eat. And to add on to Danny's question, and we'll do some video, or I'll pull up some pictures too, about fly fishing for crappie. The beautiful thing about that is you're usually fly fishing with a single hook. So that's a lot easier for the fish to survive after being caught. And usually that's like a lip hook. So it's easier to do catch and release when you're fly fishing. And Tony, do you have a favorite fly that you would use for fly fishing for crappie?
I answered this question. I take it back. I can use it
Oh, good.
on woolly buggers, leech patterns, or nymphs.
Okay, so
And
yeah.
my go-to colors are black, olive, and brown. So just pretty basic stuff. Yeah. But I have got plenty of on flies.
Oh yeah, definitely. We have volunteer instructors that come out, and one of our academies where we brought all the instructors together was at Echo Reservoir, and they actually have a crappie contest, and it's all catch and release. And whoever catches the most amount, you do little tallies. And most of the guys use woolly buggers or nymphs. And I want to say like 6 of them caught like 20 in 2 hours. But that's May up there, and that's barely when they get going. And they're biting, like you were saying, spawning and all, and the water's getting warmer.
Correct.
And then share all this information with the kids, like Tony was saying. His 4-year-old asked him to go fishing again. That's preserving the passion, spreading the word, and protecting our legacy so that we can keep the fishing going for everyone and keep these amazing resources. The fish pretty much take care of these reservoirs and these springs for us. So we need healthy, awesome fish in waters.
Can I say something on that?
Definitely.
So being born and raised here, let's talk about Sunset Park. So Sunset Park, when I was growing up, it was 2 lakes. It was 2 lakes, not one. So basically Circus Hobby, which is a boat racing thing, had that big circular lake, you know, that's south. And then the north, if you know where the island is, where it's narrow like this, that was a separate lake. There was a dam right there, and everything was caged in. You couldn't even go there. There was no fishing or nothing. So when I was in 7th grade, I'm almost 46 now. When I was in 7th grade, they decided, let's make this fishing, all right? So when you're going to be a junior high school kid, you know, whatever, there's a lot of changes you go through in life. Some not good, if you know what I'm saying. You know, it's a very pinnacle point in your life. Well, being a fisherman, since I used to sit in the pool and fish for nothing my whole life, I mean, just casting in the pool. My mom would drop me off at Sunset Park every day, and it kind of saved, you know, my life in a way. I was there every day. I was like obsessed. What I'm trying to say is, if you see a kid, I don't care, and you're an adult, I don't care how many fish you want, how long you traveled, how much money you spent, get out of the way. All right? Move. And that's what I stand for, and I know Tony stands for it. I know we get a lot of grief because of it, but there is a culture to what we do. And sometimes people need fishing to fall back on to find themselves again. And it's very important that that's drilled in, not drilled in, but kids are able to find that if that's what's there for them.
Definitely.
About some kids. I was at an urban pond also, and it was obvious they had just stocked it with trout, and I'm catching left and right. And these two, probably 14, 15-year-old kids, they're not catching at all. And they're like, what are you using? You know, I jump everything. I give them, I set up their rods. I got them going. The kid put in the setup and caught a fish for his cast. He's like out of his mind happy, you know, and it made my whole day. And then his friend was like, oh, I'm okay. And 15 minutes later, he's like, you got any more of those? You know, so I took that box and I set the kids up because they were going to go home disappointed, you know, but they caught fish, and I was happy to see them catch fish, and they'd want to come back again.
Definitely.
Tony's done that, in my view. I can't even count how many times I've done it. I've given away fishing poles. I've seen kids, and I'm like, man, I just hand them a fishing pole. You know what I mean? You know, Abby, you know me, and the next generation is more important to me than anything in fishing, anything. I want to enjoy my retirement on a lake somewhere, and I need these kids to continue it.
Definitely. Yeah, we got to spread the word. We have to help these kids get out however possible. Yeah, we have a lot of partnerships with Boys and Girls Club, but at the same time, we still need help getting them out to the waters, because no matter, it's the hardest thing is transportation. And I want to say one of my moments was actually one of my college classes about 4 years ago. This girl had never been to Lake Mead. She grew up in Vegas and had never even been to Lake Mead. So for our class, as an environmental science class, we went out to Lake Mead, we did the visitor center, got to see it, and then we went down to the marina and actually got to do some water testing. And I drove because I was used to it. That was my one of my seasonal jobs to start, was out there. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I probably talked way too much on the way out there because I was so sad. Like, I grew up in North Las Vegas. But I was fortunate that my dad took me camping, hiking, hunting, fishing, because he worked construction. He's like, I got to get out of the city and out of the heat. So we would go places, but some of these kids aren't fortunate enough to do that in the summers when their parents are still working all the time. So yeah, we just got to protect our legacy and share that passion with these kids. And yeah, help these organizations get these kids out as much as possible. That's definitely where I'm at. And our carp guy, Sean too. Sean was huge help last year with some kids I brought out to the park. And we got him bluegill, but we couldn't get him that monster carp out of the pond.
Yeah.
So yeah, just keep passing it on. Take your friends out, take those kids out, check our fishing reports. Anytime these guys brag about a fish, we generally don't put the areas, but we'll definitely give you some tricks on what lures are catching the most, because we want everybody to enjoy the fishery. Also, if you have a new person going out fishing, I'd love to help them get their certificate for that first fish. So please let me know. And then again, you can go to our website, get your fishing license so that you're legal out on the water. And like Tony and Joe do all the time, pack it in, pack it out. Always have an extra garbage bag or an extra string to tie stuff in.
There's stuff in my own note.
We are on the map for hashtag Clean My Water. So we are one of the top 40 states that definitely showed off our cleaning of the rivers and waterways in southern Nevada or in Nevada. And then just be prepared when you go out. Again, I can't say it enough. We hear all the accidents on the news. So you have to check the weather. You have to know your site conditions. And be prepared for winds in southern Nevada every afternoon. Just be prepared for it. And again, the fishing report that we work on for you guys to check. And then some more questions. And Danny, if you want, I can actually share some more fly fishing resources if you just want to email me. And then I can get you some more information on crappie fly fishing if you want, or if you have any more questions. And as you leave tonight, please fill out the survey and let us know how we did, what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you'd like to see next. And thank you so much, Joe and Tony. Any last words?
I have one. You were talking about catch and release earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally recently took even though I haven't been hunting, I am now a certified hunter. And I went step through step, 15 hours of going through that. And it was the biggest lesson ever taught to me. Because believe it or not, I've been involved with fishing my entire life, and I never knew what wildlife service was about. And I wish that people had to take at least a 2-hour class to fish, because there's something very important in there, and it's called preserve and conserve. So in other words, these wildlife agencies are here in order to keep a balance of not only our animals, but our water. What I'm trying to say is, if there's one species overtaking, they need to go. And they're the ones that set that threshold on what needs to go. If there's one species not succeeding, they're the ones that set the threshold on, don't touch those. So it was the biggest lesson I ever learned. And like I said, I've been involved in this forever. And until I took that class, I never knew it.
That's awesome. I'm glad Martin is listening in too, and he's glad to hear that you took the class. We definitely, we had the, everyone 11 and older can take hunting online right now, because we can't do in classes. So right now is the time during the summer to get these kids. Like you said, it takes a while. And what others? We don't have schoolwork right now for the kids, so send them through Hunter Ed. It's also gun safety and everything like that. And we have amazing classes once we can get going again on all of that. Thank you all attendees for attending this awesome presentation. I say awesome, not because of me, but because of my awesome guests. And check out any of our other programs. We'll do tackle boxes for urban fishing next week. And then we're also talking about big cats. Julie, I think, is talking big cats on Friday. So Rob had to leave and come back, but does Rob want to say anything else? Oh, I hit the wrong button.
He's old.
I heard that, Joe.
Scared him
I
off.
heard that, Joe.
He disappeared. Maybe I scared him off.
I can hear him now.
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Oh,
too,
there he
Joe.
is.
No, everyone, you guys, you couldn't have two better panelists between Joe and Tony right there. Stand-up guys, always looking out for, our fellow fishermen and women, giving back to the youth. That's the big thing.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep.
Yeah, and if anyone needs anything, Rob's the guy to see at Sportsman's Southwest or Northwest, sorry, and he can help you at the store get stuff too. And you can always email me. My email's here on the bottom left. So yeah, email us anytime. Find a fellow angler and make friends if that's what it takes for you guys to get out. And it was our pleasure, and I'm very thankful to have awesome guests every week doing these fish series. You guys are awesome. So yeah, have a good night. And if you have any other questions, let us know.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Rob.
You got it, guys. I'll talk to you, everybody, later.
Going to bed. I got fish to catch in the morning.
I'll text you.